Okay. DaJuan Johnson.
Colleen Foy.
I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here.
How many years do you think we've known each other for?
Oh, I would say no less than about 15 years. I've been out here in Los Angeles since 2002.
Oh, wow.
So I got out here in 2002. And so I would say somewhere around 2007 or 8 we met.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to count.
No. Don't count the rings. Yeah.
We came out of high school.
I skipped high school, whatever. I got emancipated. So as I was prepping for this podcast, I have the benefit of knowing you for so many years. I can sort of like zoom out and see how sort of all the pieces have fallen together to create this beautiful masterpiece of your career and your life.
Go on.
But I do want to start with just a little bit of like the basics. When I talk to people about, like, do you know DaJuan Johnson? And they're like, yeah, I know his podcast, and you talk about him a lot. They may know you from your podcast, from Think Bigger Coaching, from your tribe. Can we just get to like the origin story of DaJuan?
I moved here immediately from Colorado, but I was coming via Miami, I should say. And, one of the things I like to say is I thought I was hot crap on a rock when I got out here because I was coming from just playing Hamlet, and I spelled theater R-E. Like I was like very like that guy. And then I got out here and I realized that I was in a sea of Hamlets. And everybody played Hamlets back in their little towns or like, whatever. And my dream of getting discovered when I first got out here at a gas station or in a grocery store didn't happen. And it was one of those things where I had to really stop and get serious. And I didn't really figure it out for a while. I think I was in a lot of black box theater classes for a while where everybody was emoting and they were like feeling it and we were crying and it felt really good to be like, still like, that kind of actor that was crying. But then you just stop and you look around and you're like, oh, we're just like doing this for us. Like nobody's auditioning. Nobody has headshots. Nobody has agents. And so that's when I really kind of gotten serious about it. I was like, okay, let me back up for a second. This is not what I came out here to do.
Right.
So yeah. And it took me about 4 or 5 years before I really got like serious. I don't want to say serious. I was always serious about it. I was always serious about my craft. I just, sometimes when you come out to Los Angeles or New York or Chicago, Atlanta, like you don't know where to go, what to do. And so you're kind of bumping around and you're doing what other people maybe say to do, or you've heard to do, or you saw online to do, or now you've punched it into AI and you said, what do I do when I come to Los Angeles? And it spits out something and you're like, this is what I'm doing. That's not going to get you where you want to go.
Well, damn, that's the first answer. So good, D. You know what? You should have your own podcast.
I do have my own podcast.
6 seasons in. So how did you meet Stan and start studying this particular method?
So I met Stan at another studio. And then when he started his own studio, I went over to work with him. And, I always joke that Stan and I were married. We used to see each other more than I used to see my partner, my husband. And I mean, like so much. So, the thing about Stan was that I didn't like him in the beginning. I didn't like him because ego. What was happening was one day in class, he had somebody hold my head.
Oh.
He had somebody holding my waist and he had somebody holding my ankles and feet. 3 people were up there as I was doing this role. And I was so embarrassed. It was because I was moving so much in my work. And I was a theater actor. Remember, I was like taking up space. And, I was so upset with him. I was so embarrassed by what he did, the way he was working with me in front of everybody. I mean, it's like 15 people in class. But it was so, I was like, they're going to go home and they're going to tell everybody. And so I left that class that day and I wrote a burn book about Stan. But, what really happened after that was I was really upset with him and I stopped and I said, well, what if I stopped and I tried it his way? What if I got out of my own way and I really said, why would this guy just be trying to hate on me and embarrass me? And I just kind of got out of my own way and I really started to just apply the stuff that, we learned here at Stanker Studios. And I know this sounds like a fairy tale, but I booked my first part.
Wow.
I booked close to home and it was just so simple. It was so lasered. It was so focused. And it was everything we did in class, everything we stopped and did. I picked it up and I put it in that audition room. And it was like that there to there. And then, you know what? He couldn't get rid of me. I was hooked. I was like, so do you want to hold my head again?
That's amazing. I really love the way that we teach. the way that we have taught. And it has changed my life. And I always feel like I'm doing like an advertisement. Like, not only do I teach it, but I use it, but it's true.
It's very true.
I was a theater actor, I didn't know what I didn't know, flailing a bit. Took those classes in the Black Box Theater on Santa Monica Boulevard in Hollywood, and everyone was crying in their scenes. And same sort of as you, I was like, I didn't come here to be a bench warmer.
Right.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, I want to work. I want to be prosperous. I want to have an abundance of amazing jobs, and I want my life to be abundant. So, yeah.
Well, I think that's interesting and great to say again and again and again, because what happens is, the actors come out here and they're like, I'll just eat top ramen and I'll do it from my car. I'm like, we don't have to do that. We can like steak, and you know what I mean? And we can also go after our careers. There's both ways to do that. We don't have to have that old trope to do it that way. So I agree. Like, I didn't come out to be a bench warmer. I didn't come out here just to cry in a Black Box Theater. You know what I mean? I came to get out there and really pursue it. And I think, this was the first place that I started that pursuit. And that's not an advertisement, but it is an advertisement. It's the truth. It's receipts, right? It's receipts.
Yes, it is receipts.
Yeah.
It's about receipts. Absolutely. That's amazing. We taught together for years, and I learned a lot from watching you teach and teaching together. So how did you book your first job? How did you get your first agent?
Oh, close to home was my first one. Those two are two different questions, right? How did I book my first job and how did I get my first agent? My first agent came from a book, right? One of those books that we like highlighted, and then we went and sent out some stuff. I think it was Castle Hill was their name. And I got Castle Hill. My second agent came from doing a workshop, which was like Great Pacific West or something like that. I can't remember their name. Agents, I want to be honest and just say that agents and managers have never been hard for me to get. Because I don't care what other people are saying. Like, don't go to workshops, don't do, mailings. So I don't care about all that stuff. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get referrals. I'm going to do whatever to get those people. And I've always gotten really okay people. I would just say they've gotten more amazing as I've gone on in my career. But the first ones were kind of sketchy. They were, but like they were all great stepping stones. Let me just say this so everybody can understand this. Like, we try to be so sure of our next step. We got to if we're not sure or there isn't a guarantee of that next step, some of us won't take it. And what we need to understand is that next step might be a stepping stone for 3 more. Like, don't be afraid to like take something and be with this agent or manager. And then it's like, it's just a stepping stone. None of these things have to be permanent. If you find some new information, you get new information, leave and say, all right, cool. Or like, if you outgrow and you're like, feel like you're a big fish in this little pond, leave. But we stay so much longer for that. And so for me, it's always been like, okay, it's time to go. Like, you know what I mean? Or this isn't working out anymore for us. And so it's always time. And I could tell a story about that with Johnny. We talked about when I was with him as well. Yeah. It's like one of those things that you just go gracefully. Just go gracefully and remember how you want to lead your, run your business. But how I booked my first job, really close to home was, working over and over again in Stan's class. And I booked that. And I really did exactly what we did. Like I know this is going to sound like you're not supposed to try to recreate what you do inside of your class. But I literally was like, he said, move this way. And look up this. It was so because it wasn't in my body yet. So what I was doing was what we had done in class. But as I started to book more and I became very comfortable, we worked it in class. That's where we workshopped it. That's where we played it in class. Then I was like, you know what? You got this, DeJuan. Let's go in there. I don't have to have it technical. It's not just technique. It's in me. It became more of that. And I will say I booked a lot, with Stan Kerr Studios, but like the big thing that I would say that catapulted my career that many people do not know is Bosch.
Really?
Stan and I worked on Bosch. We worked on that. And 7 seasons later, that literally, I will say, launched my career. Like, do you know what I mean? And
that's amazing.
And I don't know, a lot of people, we don't talk about that, but that was inside of the thing. And I remember, again, being able to, I think what really becomes really great when you work with a teacher or when you work with a coach or when you work with somebody, I think that people get confused. It becomes amazing when it becomes a collaboration. And so we had gotten into a place where it wasn't just do this only, DeJuan. It was like, okay, I got a couple ideas in my head. Let's like clean it up. So it became a collaboration between us. And then I could take it and like still spin it that way. So it was different.
I was thinking about when you booked Bosch. That year you had said to me, Colleen, booking a pilot this year. I am booking a pilot. Did you set your intention?
Yes.
Set your intention.
I just believe that there's like this magic list out there, intention. Like if we ask for it, it is given. And I kept like just saying it that way. And I was like, I'm booking a pilot. I'm booking a pilot. I hope I did, thinking back on that. That was so long ago, 2014, 2013, I think it is. That was so long ago that I hope I stopped and said, thank you more, please. Because sometimes we get what we ask for and then we just keep going so fast. And so I meant to I'm just thinking to myself, if I didn't, thank you more, please. I remember wanting to book a pilot that way and booking it. And by the way, when they came to me for the pilot, I booked and I was officer number 1 on the pilot. And I was like at this part of my career where I was like, I'm not going to do this if they're going to be officer number 1. I don't want to do that. Yeah. And I was like, can we get a name? And they were like, yeah, all right, we'll give DeJuan a name. And they came back with Officer Rondell Pierce. And I was like, they're effing with me. I don't know anybody named Rondell. There it is. But, it goes on to be crazy.
I remember after you said to me in the parking lot after we had worked together, Colleen, I'm booking a pilot this year. And then after you booked it, you're like, I need to get more specific. But yes, there you go, Rondell Pierce. And he has this whole beautiful arc over 7 seasons. Oh. My dad loved the episode where you find the bullet at Angel's Flight. I took him there last time he was in town. He's like, oh, one of your buddies here.
Looking for
a bullet. So let me talk about booking that first job. And it was sort of, look here, do this, because you hadn't gotten it into your body. Let's fast forward to your first episode of NCIS Origins. When I watched that, your body language stood out to me. The way you were taking up space, and I could tell that it was in your body. I mean, that's a very long amount of time, but I could just see the work that you had put in. Literally, DeJuan, it was incredible. I think I messaged you about it. It blew me away. So how did you show up to set first day of NCIS Origins?
Well, I think we got to take it back just a little bit, right? Just to that audition. And for everybody listening to this, of course, that was, what working in a studio does, what working in it with a coach does is we're hopefully you're truncating time, right? You're truncating that time that it would take for you to come up with this on your own. And I want to be clear that was probably a 10 to 12 year progression, right? This hasn't happened or just it wasn't overnight. And the thing about the audition, before we get to the first day on set, the thing about the audition was that I believe one of the things that I work on now that, because you jump off of all the things that you learn in anybody it becomes a collaboration, you start to bring your own je ne sais quoi, your stank on it. And so one of the things that I do really, really, really clearly now is I have like a thinking, feeling, doing, saying thing that I put in all my work. And the F part of that is the feeling is, what do I think about this guy, this character? What do I, DeJuan, I think about this? Because, a lot of people hear this where they say, bring more of you to the role. And everybody gets frustrated with that, where they're like, but I am bringing me, I am doing me, but you're not doing you. What you're doing is you're looking at the thing and you're thinking what the other person or the casting director might want you to do, or the director might want you to do. You're not bringing you, or you're like, I know what this is. You're not bringing your piece to it. So when I ask myself, what do you like about this? How do you feel about this? And I started to think about the role. And there's one part of it where in the audition where he says something like, you haven't spent enough time in Mexico. That was the line. You haven't spent enough time in Mexico. And I was like, how do you feel about this? And out of random thing popped into my head. My dad is the worst. And it's almost borderline racist. The way he tries to speak Spanish. He's really trying, like the 70-year-old black man. And he'll just say like, bueno. And I'm like, he'll just say these random things. And like that. That's not fair. That's not okay. But I thought to myself, how would your dad say Mexico in that? How would you put that? And everybody else is going to say probably Mexico, right? And I said something to the thing using that, how do I feel about this? What do I want to do with this? And I said, whoa, you haven't spent enough time in Mexico. And it just came out like that. And it just automatically infused in the rest of it. This was mine, right? This was me. Who is this guy back in the 90s? It just all of a sudden became the jump off point for everything else. And it had to be in your body. And nobody else was going to make that choice. That's what that means when they say nobody else is going to make the same choice as you, because it literally was just me thinking about my dad. They don't have that crazy man for a dad. And so when I got to set, I know this is a lot, right?
Good.
When I got to set that time, I booked it and I got to set. I was so excited about it. When I got to set, here's the big piece of it, everybody. When you get to set, you have to understand that although it says you may recur, although it says that, this could be many episodes, that can be one episode if you don't show the F up. And so there was so much dialogue. They were already in episode 6 by the time I got there. And my job was to show out, do my part, show out, but then blend. I'm not trying to I just want to blend. And everybody just kept saying DeJuan, you nailed it. You took our first half of our day and made it so much faster with all this stuff we have to do, because I already worked it. I already knew who this person was in my body. And I just let me just jump off of it. So it made a lot of sense when they came back for more and more.
Yeah. So in getting that first booking that you had, and you were sort of okay, I was told to do this and told to do this. And by now the time, maybe almost 2 decades later, 15 years?
Let's just say a decade, because I feel like that's, I feel like nobody's counting.
Singular.
You are finding inspiration in your preparation, and you feel empowered and confident enough to show up. You know exactly what to do. You have 7 seasons of another series under your belt. The same thing happened there, right? You got asked back, and you're able to show up in a way that it all feels somehow both completely organic and also crisp, clean, clear, given to the editors. And they're like, thank God we have this. And also everyone's going well, we're going to get home in time for dinner tonight. Thank you. Yeah. So all of it, it's just, I think the big takeaway for me in that is that it takes time.
It takes time.
It takes time.
Right. It takes time, and, and to trust of yourself and to trust your team. What I will say to this, I do not go on set. I do not have an audition without it being coached. So even though I'm on the show, before I'm on there, I'm working it with somebody. So by the time I get on set, this is not the time to work it out. Everybody needs to understand this is a multi-million-dollar episode production that's going on. I'm not working it out there. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not playing with the other actors, right? I can be malleable and move, but I also have a point of view when I'm there so that we can move and I can have my point of view there. It's very important that you do that. But I have to do that with coaching. I coach honestly, on my table reads.
Smart.
I coach on my table reads so that when I'm in the room with the head of studios, with the people who are making decisions on when this show ends, maybe we can use DeJuan for something else. This is a business, and I learned it here, right? I learned it. This is a business more than anything else. And I think if you are business savvy on top of talented, you're going to go a lot further.
I completely agree. We just started a new business task here, and it's everything I wanted when I was first here. Yeah, absolutely. So watching your NCIS origin stuff is so good and juicy because the performance is so good, but I helped put you on tape for NCIS. I put you on tape after my class. It was very late at night. And also you were in the middle of
Grey's Anatomy.
You were exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
You could have said, I'm top of show right now on Grey's Anatomy. I'm top of show right now on Bosch, multiple episodes, multiple seasons. I can just I'll pass on this NCIS audition. Why'd you show up so late at night with your little tripod? What made you say this is worth doing?
We're journeyman actors, right? And, although the job is there then, right at that moment, and I do believe I'm never one of those people that doesn't think they'll work again. I do think I'll continue to work. I think we all will. I think it's when's the next job coming? I don't know how long, Grey's is going to last. I know how Bosch is going to last. Things end. And so I just have an amazing work ethic where I'm just kind of cool, I'll go put this on tape for that. And by the way, NCIS had seen me probably at that time almost 15 or 16 times. Do you know what I mean? And so I could have, like you said, been you guys already have tape of me. You already know what I can do. I didn't. I just let's just show up and do that. And I think a lot of people got to get out of their own way, get out of ego, get out of what you've heard about this industry back in, the consciousness of actors past does not meet this moment right now.
I think it washed over me, seep into my pores. Say that one more time.
Consciousness. the consciousness of actors past cannot meet this moment. So what that means is a lot of people are talking about the consciousness of actors in 1950s or when the studios used to do overall deals or stuff like that. The consciousness of what we used to do before cannot apply to this moment right now. This is a brand new moment. We're in a new industry. Things are happening, streaming, all this stuff. It cannot apply to this moment, but we keep bringing it up to this moment. We're like, no. Remember when they used to have test deals or was to do all this stuff? We didn't have self-tapes. Okay, we got to what does this moment require of it? If it requires that I have to do self-tapes, then I need to get freaking good about self-tapes. You can blah, 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 blah about, remember when we used to go in the room? We're not going to the room. I haven't been in a room in 5 years. That's not true. I went in the room actually 6 months ago. So 4.5 years ago. 4.5 years I went without going into a room. And by the way, I booked some of my biggest stuff. But still, so what do? Do you throw a fit or do you meet this moment? So when I say the consciousness of actors past does not meet this, it cannot meet this moment. It just can't.
So we need to, and this is a question, do we need to create a new consciousness based on the reality of the moment?
Absolutely. Or accept it. Accept, and this is where we're at. As soon as you just say yes, as soon as you just accept that this is the moment we're in, I bet so many more ideas will come to you. Think about the vibration you're on. If you think about if you can see this, if you're thinking about lines from the bottom from 1 to 10, and you are literally on a vibration of 3. You're like, I'm going to go in the room. I'm going to do all this stuff. You're on that vibration. That is literally all you're getting. But if the stuff you want is on 7 or 8 or 9, we have to let go of this vibration to get to the next one. We must go up. We must go higher on that. And so, but a lot of people, a lot of actors, we're just okay being down here with the cult of average. We're okay being let me just jump into the pool of everybody who's going to complain about everything that's wrong with this indie. I don't have time for it.
Yeah.
It's 2 kids. I don't have time for it. You know what I mean? And we just keep going. It's all right, cool. This is what this moment. Let's just turn. Let's go.
So how does one raise their vibration?
Great. That's a great question. What's your answer?
I think a lot depends on the people you surround yourself with. I should say who you choose to surround yourself with, because even if you're not choosing, you're choosing, right? When I was working at a previous job, I happened to be surrounded by a lot of people who just had sad sack energy and just it's never going to happen. I have guitar on my special skills, but I don't have a guitar. Why would they ask me? Blah, 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 on and on and on. And I could feel myself match them energetically. And I think because as humans, we, evolutionarily speaking, we want to bond with people so that we survive, right? That's how our genes are coded. So I want to bond with them so I can survive. Oh, yes, I know it's a slow time, but I know people who are going in and blah, 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 blah. And then when I hear someone from vibration 7, let's say, I'm talking about stuff, I'm like, oh, who do they think they are? Who do they think they are? And then because I say that, my vibration level 3 people are like, I know, can you believe the audacity? He said he wants to book a pilot this year. Who says that stuff?
So I think that's a very, very excellent way of saying it. It definitely are the people who you surround yourself with. I like to say, be careful about the cult of average. The cult of average are the people who are just mediocre. And we're all okay with just jumping into that pool of group actor think, right? And that's what group actor think is, where we're all yeah, that sucks. Yeah, co-stars are hard. Look out for that stuff. So one of the ways you asked about how do I raise my vibration? Be aware, number 1, of the people you're around. Number 2, be aware of looping thoughts. So if you hear looping thoughts, sometimes so here's one of the things, I vibrate high. But even when I'm at a 7 vibrating high, I found myself oh, F-U-C-K. I've been saying the same thing over and over again. I didn't know I was stuck because I'm already still vibrating high, but I could be higher. So what I have to do is now I have to change my thoughts. How do I change my thoughts? You have to get new thoughts into your head. Your thoughts that have gotten you as far as they can go. And that is A-okay. So what do? You go put on different playlists. I listen to Bob Proctor or Elisa Nichols. I start to get other people's thoughts that are higher vibration so that I can start to marry those things to get me out of my situation, to get me thinking differently. And, because what we're trying to do is use the same thoughts, use the same things that got us stuck. And it doesn't always happen that way. And so making sure that you change your thoughts, change your paradigm, shift those things there, then it will help you get out of that vibration and get into a new one. And, it takes work, by the way. Like I said, I vibrate high and I didn't realize that I was looping the same thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm saying the same thing over and over again. I didn't know that.
Wow.
Then you got to get to work.
You're so able to tap into what is going on with you. That's incredible.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of therapy, and it's a lot of trial and error. And it's a lot of calling myself out. I don't have it. That's why I can just say, look, I can vibrate high, but then I can find myself on the floor. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, oh man, I always try to tell people, don't make me extraordinary at all. Because when you make me extraordinary, you let you off the hook. And so what I want to say is like, I'm just a guy from Kendall, Florida that wanted to do better than my awful upbringing. My mom's going to be like, DeJuan, that's not true. The home life I was in, like they just wanted to play pretend for longer. And so what do I do with that? And also wanted to have better thoughts about that. And I just really like jumped in and submerged myself with how do I change this situation? And so when I find myself in a rabbit hole, Colleen, I understand that like, I know how to get out of that rabbit hole faster, but I think as you go on, then you just start to figure out that rabbit hole gets a little bit trickier. You don't know that you're in it and you're like, okay, cool. How do I get out of it?
Well, I think a lot of like the mental, emotional, spiritual stuff also overlaps and feeds into our artistic pursuits and our artistic life. The more we know ourselves, the more we can understand how we feel about a character, or the more I allow myself to see my thoughts rather than just bury them, the more my characters have a full expression of emotion rather than the truncated amount that is like socially acceptable to show and see. Yeah. That I present to people.
I think I just want to say why I work on this so hard though. One, because I think it's my life calling to make sure that I work on this and share. But I also think in our industry that your talent will only get you so far, but mindset will keep you in the game. Your mindset will keep you in the game. You will get to that series regular. You will get to that recurring guest. You will get to all those different places that you want to do where you have an intention and manifestation and purpose. You'll get there. But when you're there, when you're on set and all this is happening, or there's a director that's yelling, or you don't get the words out, you trip up on it. That's when mindset comes into play. That's where I start talking to myself. That's where I can start all of a sudden be like, this is how we work this on set. It's very, very, very important. People think the most talented person in the room gets the part. It's not true.
That was a hard one for me to learn. That it's not like you just be the goodest actor you can be and you're going to get the role. So what do you think makes it the person who gets the role?
I think it's so many things. I've been on the other side of that, right? Where it's casting, and I've been on the other side of it where I seen people, we were taught to learn our lines at all times, right? Like just to know these things. I've been on the other side of that in casting where I was like, this person's not going to get it because they barely knew their lines. And then the casting was like, they're perfect because they have the essence of this person. They're like embody that. So I'm like, it's really, I'm not saying don't know your lines because that person might have a baby cousin and sister's mom that's like an exec. Yeah, right? Like we don't know. But it's also just like what gets that. Colleen, I don't know why we're doing this because I don't know sometimes of like why anybody gets booked. It's because it's so interesting to see like how people make it. I wish I could say that this was the thing that's going to get you booked. This is the magic pill. I wish I had that.
But I think what you are saying is because we don't know why people book, there is no magic pill. What we have to do is become really great at accepting that we're not going to know, taking care of ourselves so that we can function, so that our nervous system stays regulated, so that we can show up for the people we love, so that we can be present as we're building a life that we dreamt of. We can't figure out that businessy thing, right? But we can create systems that help us stay afloat and happy. And I love that. I love that about the work that you do.
Thank you. Ingleen.
Yeah. I remember once, I think it was maybe like your first workshop that you did after you got your certification. I think the very first workshop you did, the first thing you said was like, let's get this out of the way. There's no magic bullet. There's no fairy dust. Everyone wants like, what are the answers? Teach me how to be mindful. I will do those every single fucking day. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, but you have to live it because it's going to change shape on you. Challenges that come up will be shape-shifting and you have to be malleable.
Yeah. I think you could also, we've been friends long enough that you can, well, I'm not calling anybody out, but we can take a look in our past of people who were probably 10 times more talented than me. Or maybe, I don't want to say than you because you're very talented. We're like, you haven't met anybody that's more talented. But I think that people who were more talented than us, who were like probably like back in when we were, I don't know, wherever we were in our careers, were like, wow, they're doing so great, that are not acting anymore, that are not in the industry anymore, that don't live it, like that are not, like, I remember there's so many people, I was like, gosh, I want to be like that person that has a series. But, you know, I'm not saying anything about it. I'm not about them either. But I think what the stick to itness that keeps you here is mindset. And if you got to leave, you got to leave. If you want to leave, I mean, this is not that conversation. But I think the thing that like really, I'm really trying to say is run your own game. Ask yourself how you feel about all this stuff. You know what I mean? And like really, really work on your mindset and your thoughts and your quality of life.
Yes.
If you can get that and you're like, great, all right, cool. So all this stuff is going on and, you know, in our industry, well, I guess I'll just hang out with my kids now, or I'll fix some stuff around the house, or I'll go work on this other thing. It is okay.
Yeah. I talk about that when prospective students come and meet and I say, yes, we'll get a great audition. Yes, we have the best community in all of Los Angeles. Yes. But also what I want is for you to get an audition and for it not to upheave your life for 24 to 48 hours. I want you to have a really good life. And the way I can help you with that, what I do well, is I can teach you how to get an audition, recognize certain patterns, be so equipped with script analysis skills, and be able to access your emotions that you're able to turn it out in a really professional and competitive way in a short amount of time so that you can tend to the things that you have filled your life up with. That's important to me.
Very important. We don't have the time. When my boys came, that I didn't have the time to spend 24 hours on an audition anymore. Mm-hmm. I had to really hone in on my process. What is this process? Because they don't care about my audition. They want to eat.
Yeah.
By the way, those little guys, you know, I asked them to come to set one time with me. Like, you think like you made it and you're like going to come to set, you're going to see your dad, shoot him up and do some things. And my son said, will there be anybody famous there? And I said, me, your dad. And he's like, you know, no, but like Ant-Man. So it just goes to show you, if you're trying to wait for validation from your kids, you're not. Oh, so anyway, I take everything back I said about quality of life.
So one of the things I love that you are able to do is reframe. Years ago, I have the benefit of seeing, you know, your career from this sort of zoomed out thing. So there's a couple moments that I really think were sort of like up-level, game-changing moments.
I bet I know what you're going to say.
Oh my gosh, really?
I bet I know one of the things that I'm going to say because it was career-defining and changing for me. Would it have to be about rigging the system in my favor? I bet it is.
You were pinned for a role, a wonderful role, a big juicy role, and for a long time, and it would have been out of the state, obviously, big stuff. And then they reached back out and said, oh, the person we offered it to can do it. And just like that,
yeah,
it's no longer yours. Puerto Rico's gone. This is a big role. And I believe when you're positive, like, the system is rigged. So how can I rig the system in my favor? Mm-hmm. I love that, because I think a lot of people the system is rigged. It's fucked. If they're always offering it to someone with a bigger name and a and a like, why do I don't have any hope for this fucking thing. But you turned it around. Okay, so if it is rigged, if that is the truth, capital T.
If that's what I'm choosing to believe.
100%. How do I rig it then in my favor? Did I get the story right?
You did. I think I don't want to have a revisionist history, right? Because that's about 15 years ago. I don't want to make this up because I think, was it pre-Bosch? No, it was during after Bosch. The thing was that I think the details that we missed out on is that had been where I was director's choice, where casting had called me at home and worked with me at home. They had me like, it was like one of those things where we're like, oh, this is it. This was the next step. And, you know, we can make it up in our mind. I think like this would have been the jumping point of something else. That's the story I told myself, but I don't know now, being in this industry for so long. But it was at that moment, it was such a big role for me. And it just all was like, great, he's our choice. And then they went silent. My team was like, what's going on? What's happening? And I was like, I don't know. They went silent and they came back and they said the person we had offered the role to initially that said no, came back and said yes. And so in the interim, I was auditioning. I lost the role. And the part you're talking about that's what I'm talking about of really, 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 what do I want to do here? I can really go on. I can join the cult of average and I would be welcomed. I'm like, yes, this feels bad. Yes, this system is rigged. Nobody's going to make it in this industry unless you know somebody or blah, 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 blah. And I was just kind of like, how can I rig the system in my favor? That's exactly. And I created a program around how can I rig the system in my favor so I could teach it as well. What I did there was I realized that a lot of people just didn't know me. And how do I get out there and start people knowing DeJuan more? And whether that was doing PR with Bosch, whether that was finally getting on social media and upping my quote unquote visibility there, whether that was going to more things so I have, Getty images in all those places. I just decided to rig the system in my favor when I'm asked to go out with other people and mingle and stuff like that. I did it. I did all of that for a while just so I can shift that narrative and get out there to more people. Now, do I know if it worked or not? I mean, I'm working and I continue to work, steadily. So I think that has, and I think anything that I could say yes to from that period on, I'm a little bit like, no, now that my kids are, I'm like, I don't know, I don't have time for it. But during that period, I believe I had to rig the system in my favor, and I must have done.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
You have to shift the thinking on that. Everything had to go behind that. Like, if I'm going to say I'm going to rig the system in my favor, what does that mean? And of course, like, this other person who was yay or nay, I'm not going to say was a better actor. We don't know that, right? That's not the point. Is that person had more visibility. That person had been on other stuff. That person, they knew the execs and the studio knew that person, and so it just was one of those things. And I just got out there and I went real hard, and I just I don't regret any of that stuff. I think now more than anything, I can venture to say at least at every major network, somebody knows me, and I keep up with them. I can't say for the last couple years because of COVID, but one of the things that I used to do at the heads of these studios, remember that I used to send them personalized cookies. So you would get a personalized cookie basket from me in January at the beginning of pilot season, when pilot season was a big thing, that every network that I had worked on would get my episode of cookies. So for example, when I was on Grey's, I had my episode on the cookie, y'all. On the cookie was like my picture, and then Grey's and all stuff like that went to ABC. Stuff went to Disney. I had CBS where I was talking to. I have Amazon got it. So I'm also in this touch point. And what people always say is, I don't want to be that actor that's brown nosy. Remember, I'm rigging the system in my favor. If this is all I have, I'm also reminding people that I'm here. I'm letting people know that, great, this is DeJuan again. And the people on Bosch, they would tell you, like, they've been on my podcast and they said, DeJuan, your cookies. I would send the writer's room cookies every time I knew the writer's room would open. Every year, the writer's room would open and I would send them a box of cookies. Please don't kill me. It was a joke, but was it a joke?
But did you?
But did I die? No, but you got me
yeah.
So I'm not saying that is the thing to do or the thing that kept me, but I'm also saying, remember that these people are not going to just stay at this one place. They're going to move. They're going to go out. So again, I'm absolutely, and I still believe that today, rig the system in your favor.
I love that. Was that around the time, now my time is a little fuzzy, but when you did Grey's Anatomy, I have never seen ever someone take a guest star, recurring, but a guest star spot and make it so memorable. And I'm not just talking about the acting work, which is incredible. I mean, I sobbed, but the Emmy process.
Yeah.
This stands out to me so much, and I feel like so much time has passed that I don't feel like the story gets enough airtime. You were pre-nominated for an Emmy?
Yes, we weren't nominated. We were in the Emmy campaign, we call it.
You were in the Emmy campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So what you did,
yeah.
Do you want to tell it? Or
I want to make sure where you're going with it, because I can talk. I can definitely, this is a beautiful story. And we'll fill in each other's blanks on it. So I did this beautiful recurring on Grey's Anatomy. And it was one of the things that I've been playing, like shoot 'em ups for a while. I've been playing the guy who was like the technician or the detective or the cop, or, I've been doing a lot of that stuff. And I got to play this meaty guest star that was like, his wife was dying, and just the arc. It was just really, really beautiful. Well, what I found was that in the Emmy process, as an actor, you can put yourself up for an Emmy. If the network doesn't, one of the women in Game of Thrones did it for us. Yes.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Like Women of Barth. I can't remember. Yes. And so, I was like, oh, I'm going to do that for this role. And so the thing that happened right after that, I bet on myself. Rig the system in your favor. I just did it that way. I was like, I'm going to just do this. I have no idea what I was doing. I did that. And what happened next was just amazing. I put myself into the Emmy nomination, the campaign, and ABC backed it. What do I mean by ABC backed it? Like gave me the graces, like all their promotional stuff that they were sending out. Now my name was in it as well. So when you would go to Grey's Anatomy, you see all their regulars and it would say guest stars and it would say nominating the guest stars. And it was like Debbie Allen, DaJuan Johnson. And I was just like, wow. And I was like, well, because they probably have like 1,000 guest stars a year. So they can't nominate all those people. So if somebody like they really think they were betting on, like can maybe get you in this, they were going to put in all of their promotional stuff. I cried. It just a lot of us don't bet on ourselves because we're scared of what the next actor is going to say about us. We're scared of what that elementary school teacher might be right about that. And so we don't just go that extra mile with that. And, that was one of my best things. I really love that. Thanks for bringing that up. One of the things I learned about the Emmys is it's a machine and a lot of networks get behind a lot of network, you know what I mean? So it's a whole machine.
Oh, it's a whole machine. I mean, even the Oscars, they talked about Honora. It only cost $6 million and then they spent $18 million in their Oscar campaign. One of the things that I love so much about your Emmy campaign is that you created DVDs of your performance and the DVD jacket was so cool. And it just was like DaJuan Johnson, the superstar, branded. And you sent a physical copy of that to every casting director that is inside the Television Academy.
Yeah. You have to really think about it. You're not betting on losing, right? So people were like, you're like, oh, you're not going to. So there is a probability that nobody knows DaJuan. I really wanted to win, right? So how can I figure out how's a win-win here? The win-win here was that, remember, it's visibility. And they gave an option where you could send this to all the actors in the Academy who are going to be voting or all the casting directors in the Academy who are going to be voting. It was a no-brainer for me. So I made a sleeve. I did this whole thing. And so every casting director got it. And they're also looking at it. And I remember Jason Kennedy called and said, look what I got. You know what I mean? And so I knew people were getting it. That's all I wanted. Remember, that's all we wanted so that we can also, again, if we go back to our initial thing is how can you rig the system in your favor? And look, I just want to say, like, I didn't come out here knowing anybody. Like, I didn't come out here having an agent friend or a manager friend or like you. We're people who we met out here and we've created this friendship, family and stuff like that. And so when I say like, I really had to rig the system in my favor, that's what I mean. And so really sending it to casting directors, that was a checkmate move. And so when these people see it, and that was a couple years now, it's still my job to jog their memory. It's still my job to make sure people see that. When I repost it on social media, it's BuzzFeed's one of their Grey's Anatomy's top 10 most emotional scenes out of their whole 17 years. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it's like now when I see that come across my feed again, I repost it. I put it back out there. And so that we can make sure that people are seeing you. Don't be afraid to be visible, everybody. Don't be afraid.
Well, again, this is where I zoom out. And you said Jason Kennedy called you. Jason Kennedy is the casting director of NCIS, which we put on tape late night while you were doing Bosch and doing Grey's Anatomy. And now you're on NCIS Origins. How many episodes have you done so far?
So this season, I've done 3 episodes so far, and I will be back for next season.
Oh, the tea is hot. So the fact that you were looking to build a relationship with NCIS, look, they've seen me 15, 16 times already. When I'm exhausted and already on 2 shows as a top of show guest star, I'm still going to put this thing on tape. Boom, he calls you when he gets it. Like, that's a huge return on investment.
Yeah. I would also just say that a lot of us get frustrated with auditioning. A lot of us get frustrated like what we just want the part. Like why don't they just give it to me already? And the story that I make sure I put out there is I auditioned for NCIS 33 times. 33 times, not including NCIS Origins or not including NCIS Hawaii, not including those ones that I auditioned for NCIS, was NCIS LA, NCIS Orleans, all those things. And I was pinned for a lot of them. And, they kept calling me in straight to producers or, whatever. And look, what I want to say is when you have a fan in an office, when you are being brought back to an office over and over again, it is your time to like leave it all on the ground, leave it all in the room, like throw it down. Don't don't get into the mindset of the cult of averages. Why don't they just offer it to me? Why don't they just book? That is not that time. That is that person who's saying, I know there's something for you on my show or my series. Like, go in there and really just keep getting after it. And Jason Kennedy, for whatever reason, he's a friend now, just kept bringing me back in and kept putting me back in front of these people. And I booked regular NCIS after my 33rd time of auditioning for it. I booked that one. Go on 2 years later, which many people don't know this. 2 years later after booking in 2020, I booked NCIS regular, the mothership. I then booked NCIS Hawaii, which was another casting director because it wasn't Jason Kennedy. So I did that one. Then 2 years later, I booked NCIS Origins. I just want to say that, I remember being on NCIS in 2020 and thinking, I would love to recur. Why isn't this happening for me? Why I've been auditioning for so long. I remember thinking I would love to do that. And I was like, whatever, it is what it is. I could not be on Origins right now if I had recurred the way I recurred. And this part on Origins, when you see it, when I step on stage with it, it's me. It's wonderful.
Oh, yeah. I just love that story.
It's a great one. It's a really, really, really great one. Thank you for reminding me of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it so much. You talk a lot on your podcast about what you wish you could tell your younger self, or you've created programs that would have helped your younger self. If your future self is looking at you right now, what do you think they would want you to understand or know?
I think what I continue to say to any part of me right now is hold the vision, not the circumstance. I get a little bit teary thinking about that. We lose sight of the vision or the dream that we had, and we got to hold on so tight to something else, whatever it is. But we get caught up in the circumstances of this industry, what's happening right now, or the fact that there's not enough inventory out there, meaning there's not enough auditions out there. We get stuck in, so-and-so booked this role, or, I was stuck in, and I'll just tell you personally, I was stuck in, I'm recurring on another show, and I haven't been back on that show for a while. And I made up a story in my head that I wasn't good on that because it's a new genre that I'm in. It's for everybody out there. It's a comedy that I don't do. And it's a comedy. It's on a kid's show. And so I have made up the story that I wasn't good. That's why they haven't called me back. And then I just stopped and I was like, hold the vision, not the circumstance, DeJuan. What's a better way of looking at this? And a better way of looking at this is maybe they're trying to find their footing in this first season. If it's a kid show, maybe they're trying to refocus on the kids. You're an adult on it. Do things or say things that work in your favor. If your vision is this and not the circumstance of this, hold the vision. You've done great. You will keep, that's what I would just say to myself, that future, because I'm going to get some answers. I'm going to get some answers soon. And it's going to be you put yourself through hell, all the turmoil, all the mental stuff, when you could have just been remember the vision. Remember the vision. The vision is move forward. The vision is tell stories. The vision is send the elevator back down to other people. That's my vision, not these circumstances that I'm in right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so cool, by the way. This is fluff.
I always end with the James Lipton 10 questions, but is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to?
I wanted to say that we just remember that this is a 50-year career and not a 5-year. And in every 50-year career, if you look at people who are in corporate world, or you look at people who are in education, you look at somebody's 50-year career, there are ups and there are downs. There are times when McDonald's is on top and then Burger King's on. I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? And just remember that this is just because we're the product, it literally is an up and down thing. And if we are in it for the long haul, and you can get out of it, by the way. You can get out of it. It's okay. And it doesn't mean you failed or anything like that. You can get out of it. But if you think about this as a 50-year career, I just think sometimes that's just a blip on the radar. There's just a blip on the radar. When I crash and burn in an audition, and they happen, when the self-tape doesn't go great. Okay, great. What can we do better? This is it's not a 5-year career. It's a 50-year career. And I just want to say that over and over again. Be careful who you hang around.
Yeah.
Yeah, be careful who you hang around. I'm so happy I hang around you.
I'm so happy. I'm so grateful that we met here.
Yeah.
Because here I felt like some of my best friends are from our studio. And what's great is that we all love acting. Everyone in LA does. But we wanted to take it seriously, and we wanted to do it without betraying the love we have for each other and other humans. We wanted to be kind. We wanted to be generous, and we wanted to be on side.
Well, we also stopped believing in competition.
Yes.
I think that's the thing that's really important. I think where you find community over competition is really, really important. And then when you can really like have friends that like, one of my really good friends is Camille Chen. And like, she's just like, DeJuan, you should really go out for this thing. I saw somebody and like, we're just passing stuff around and you start to understand, oh, instead of like, let me just network this way, we're really like Issa Rae said, we're networking left and right, like people who we were in studio with. And I just don't forget that like when you're feeling down, you have those people around you to remind you of you. Like, do you know what I mean? Like my retreat that I had. And like, I had an in-person event where I bring people together, actors together, and just looking up and that moment and seeing you in the back there, just smiling was no reason to be there. Like you're not attending, like you just wanted to be there to show your support for me. Like that's the type of, friends that you need around you in this industry. Oh, did I say thank you for that? Because you have this amazing coloring book that I just loved. Like I said, I'm going to put this in the thing. So yes, love your coloring book.
Oh, thank you so much. And you have another retreat coming.
Do we have a retreat coming up?
Cool. There is one question that I wanted to ask you. The night you're on TV, do your parents watch and text you and send happy emojis?
This is so wonderful of a question, right? And I want to just say that sometimes that your people are not the people who are going to validate you. And I mean that with love, right? I was at a family reunion not too long ago where maybe 5-6 years ago, I was at a family reunion and extended family who I haven't seen or haven't met, knew that I was on Bosch. They had seen Bosch and they were like, like being weird around. They were like, asking my mother, like, can we ask him to take pictures and stuff like that? I was like, I can hear you. Why don't you just like come take a picture with me? Like we're family, like, you know what I mean? Whatever. And so they, came over and they took pictures with me and they were like, we just love you on Bosch. It was like a weird moment, right? But the weirder moment was I remember my aunt or cousin, I don't know what they were, said to my mom, like, you must be so proud of him on there. And I was like, yeah, Mom, what's your favorite episodes? And my mom was like, And I was like, no, I don't know. And she's like, the one that you were in. And I was like, Mom, you should be embarrassed that you haven't watched my series yet. And, like, it's not to, like, I don't want anybody to think bad about my mom or something like that. Like, this is not her show. Everybody has their shows that they watch, right? And like, even though you think when you get on TV that your parents or your sisters, your brothers, all are going to be appointed at TV, they're going to watch you. So that's not how it happens. And in that moment, it didn't make me love her less, but what it did was it made me understand that all these years that I have been searching to have this person validate me, or I've been doing stuff for validation, was futile. So when you ask that question to me, like, I have to say that worry about validating yourself. Tell yourself more that you did a good job. Don't look for that significant other or all the, just like, really, this is for you. And, now that like all my mom's friends call her and they're like, but DeJuan's on TV. And she was like, DeJuan, she says to me, DeJuan, why don't you tell me when you're on TV? I said, because you don't watch. And she's like, you can just don't tell me. Side note, on the opposite, when I go see my dad in Chicago, he effing kidnaps me, takes me to his job, and they're like, everybody's like, my son, and they're like, they were taking pictures of me. He's like, I talk about you all the time in the places, So it's just a thing, for that. And neither one are right or wrong, out of the parents. Of course, we want the dad response because that's our ego, but like, it's not right or wrong. It's just, I understand now. I am solely doing this for me. I'm not doing it because my mom said I couldn't do it. Or like I said, that elementary school teacher said, you're never going to be an actor. I'm not doing that anymore for anybody else but myself. So yes, we want to say, you want to even think people in the industry, whether it's casting directors or directors or whatever, you send them a postcard or you send them a thing that says, I'm going to be on TV, that they're going to stop what they're doing. And it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen. So if you're looking for validation from outside sources, turn that thing inward.
Thank you for answering so honestly.
I think it was maybe too honest. Can we edit it out for my mom? I love you, Mom.
Please. Yes. But I think that's such a real thing. And I've never really heard people talk about it, that desire of like, okay, well, they're watching it and they're 2 hours ahead and like, they're going to call me at any moment and they're going to tell me their favorite part. And you're like, okay, well, they're probably going to bed now. Okay, now they've been in bed for an hour. Okay, I'm not going to get anything. Okay. All right. Wrestling with that is challenging, super challenging, because it takes it has personally taken me a lot to book any work. Like I said, I didn't come out here with any connections myself. It took me 2 years to even get an agent. So when I got those things, I just thought there would be a different response. And really, I find when my expectation is this and what actually happens is that or this or that, whenever they're misaligned, that's where unhappiness comes. When I had an expectation and it doesn't need it, that's when I experience unhappiness. The expectation is I'm going to watch it and be proud of myself. I'm going to watch it and like make some popcorn, pour a little champagne. I'm going to celebrate. That's my expectation. Cool. Oh, and they texted the next day. That's awesome. That's a bonus, but I wasn't expecting it. Yeah.
I can watch myself and do that, by the way. I'm literally like that person who looks at myself on screen, and I'm not like, that's DeJuan. I'm looking at that's that actor. And I'm like, but I'm also like that stage mom that's like mouthing the words.
I love watching myself on screen.
Oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. Someone asked me one time, what did you like, how did you get to that emotional place? I was like, I watched my work on Code Black and it made me cry.
You were so good on Code Black.
I made me cry.
You were so good. And that was a long time ago, but yeah.
But when I said that, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds, but there's an idea of like, you shouldn't be a fan of your work or like, oh, I shouldn't. Blah, blah, blah. Well,
Much as of actors past.
Okay, so let's end the way we end every single podcast episode. It was always a dream of mine to be on Inside the Actors Studio. And now that James Lipton has passed and the show is no longer, I still want to hear the answers to these questions. And I want great actors that I admire. I want to hear their answers. So, DaJuan Johnson, what is your favorite word?
Maybe hi. I love it. I love meeting people.
What is your least favorite word?
This is weird, but it is bye. It is. My grandmother tells a story about like every time I left my family from Chicago, I would cry so hard because I had to go back to Florida. I don't like saying bye to people. I don't like people, I don't like people pat. It's just hard for me. That's always been hard.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually?
I really get, like, as you saw through the podcast, I get really turned on by mindset. I get turned on by, people who like we're in the synergy together when we're vibrating. I love that. I love that part of, the world. I want to say creatively that like, it makes me more creative. Like to just, if we're vibing, if we're in it, I love it. Yeah.
Perfect. So what turns you off?
Being people. I just don't, the energy, I can't do it. Yeah. I'm not good at people who are just like not good. I can feel that a mile away. No, thank you.
Yeah. Yes. What is your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
I don't know why. It's like funny. It makes me laugh. I don't say it very often,
What sound or noise do you love?
When I was a kid, I used to sleep under a fan. And so as an adult, I love the sound of the fan. It calms me.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Anything breaking.
Oh, yeah.
Anything glass or anything. Like I grew up in, like I said, just that situation. And so I don't like anything that like it just takes me back.
Yeah. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Well, I think I'm doing it. I'd love to be like a motivational speaker. I would love to be like a transformational speaker. I would love to go on stages, and I think I'm jumping into that now. I would love to go on there and do more than work with actors. Yeah. You guys stick to the questions.
Oh, that's so good. I want to say one thing. It's like when you told me you were going to get life coach training, I was a certification. I was like, aren't you already? What, you already a life coach? You sure you don't have the certification? So when you say like, I want to be a transformational speaker, aren't you already? I cannot have coffee with you without being like, damn, about a certain moment. Yes.
It's like stepping into that, really, but stepping into it. Yeah.
I love that. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I think I would love to hear that you did it right. You did it right. Yeah. Open heart. Accepted everybody. That's what I would love to hear.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully you will hear that from God one day. But in the meantime, I'm going to say it. Yeah. You have a lot of knowledge, but you deliver it with such love all the time.
For sure, too.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this, DeJuan.
Thank you for having me, huh? I got to have you on the pod, huh? You're going to come on the pod?
Oh, my God.